Hello everyone. Today we'll be discussing about Newton's ring. So what are Newton's ring? So we see if fringes of equal thickness are produced in the air film, okay? If fringes of equal thickness are produced in air film between a convex surface of a long focus lens and a plain glass surface. Okay? So first of all we will see what we are talking about is there will be a plain glass surface, okay, and a convex lens of long focus, or we can say a plano-convex lens. Okay, so this is the arrangement for Newton's ring. So we keep a convex lens over a plain glass surface and we consider the air film produced by this see what we get is the air film here. So like this, in the whole structure there will be air film in 3 dimensions. Okay, so we have already considered the wedge shaped film in previous video. So what happens there is a wedge type air film is formed inside the wedge shaped glass plates. Okay, so here what happens is if we see the contour lines here, if we see the contour lines associated with the thickness everywhere here, we'll get to know that the contour lines are circular. Thus we get ring shaped fringes. Okay, so what happens here, the contour lines are of ring shape, thus we get ring shaped fringes. Okay, now what is the experimental arrangement for Newton's ring? We'll see here. Okay, see the basic arrangement is same. What happens, we place a plain glass plate, okay, over which we place a plano-convex lens. On one side here we place the sodium lamp or monochromatic source, and again we put a lens in front of convex lens in front of the sodium lamp so that all the light could be straightened up and made parallel to the converted into a parallel beam. So here there is a glass plate inclined at an angle of 45 degrees. So what happens here is, see, light is collected and converted in the form of parallel beam. When it is incident on the glass plate at an angle of 45 degrees, it is reflected from here and it goes down into the setup of a convex lens and a plano-convex lens and the glass plate. So what happens here in the air film is a matter of discussion. So whatever happens here, we'll talk about this and then only we'll know that how the interference pattern is produced. Okay, whatever happens here, the light gets reflected from here and is collected into the microscope placed here above the setup. Okay, and in the microscope we are able to see the interference pattern. Okay, so this is the experimental setup of Newton's ring. So what basically happens in this part is, see, okay, this is a plano convex lens placed over a glass plate. Okay, if we see a light ray from a point O coming into the plano convex lens, what happens? It gets refracted a bit, and then from the first glass to air boundary, it gets reflected again in this direction and then refracted into the another direction. This light ray from here moves further in the same direction, and again from the glass to air boundary gets reflected and then refracted from the glass surface in the same direction. Okay, so these two rays, ray 1 and ray 2, obtained from a single ray, let us name this D, and here let us name this F. Okay, and this is ray 1 and this is ray 2. So what happens here is, see, we have incident a single ray of light, and what we get back is two different rays of light from the single ray. Okay, so what has happened here is division of amplitude. Okay, a single light ray gets reflected two times from two different surfaces, or what we can say, two different surfaces of the same air film. Okay, so what we get as a resultant is two light beams from a single surface. So these light beams are in same phase, or we can say there is a constant phase difference. Okay, so whenever there is a constant phase difference between two light rays, we can say that there will be a interference pattern and they are coherent to each other. If they are coherent sources, then we can say that we will get a sustained interference pattern. Okay, now after we get the required interference pattern, what happens? Okay, one more thing we have to consider here is, see, when we see here this, in this part, what happens is the light ray is incident and it goes into glass sheet of a refractive index mu. Let us consider the refractive index is mu, and it gets reflected back from the air boundary into the glass of same refractive index. Okay, so the medium here before and after refraction is same. Okay, medium here before and after refraction is same, so there will be no pi change. And one more case is what? One more case here is this, that the latter medium is denser. Okay, from where see, it comes from a dense medium. Here it is air film. It gets reflected back into the denser medium. Okay, so in this case I have previously told you in my other videos that there will be no pi change. Again, when it further moves into the medium of air, and again it gets reflected from the glass surface. See this point, at point F here. Okay, so what happens here, this medium is a denser medium. Okay, it is of refractive index mu, and so whatever be the refractive index, we have considered it mu, and here it is air. We know that refractive index of air is 1. Okay, so we know that mu will be greater than 1. In this case, what happens, if there is a refractive index greater than refractive index of the latter medium, so if light gets reflected from a denser medium again back into the rarer medium after coming from, see what is happening here is light comes from rarer medium, then encounters a dense medium. Okay, again gets reflected into rarer medium. So this is a condition of pi change. So here there will be a pi change in the angle of the incoming light. Okay, here, so this line here, ray 1 will encounter a change of pi radians, and ray 2 will not encounter any change. Okay, so one ray is encountering some change and another ray is not. So what happens here is the condition of interference becomes the condition of interference for both light waves will be 2 mu t cos r minus lambda by 2. Okay, delta is equal to 2 mu t cos r minus lambda by 2. This is because both the light rays were encountering a phase difference of pi radians. Okay, so what will be the condition of maxima according to this? Now if we consider normal incidence, okay, in this case we have considered normal incidence. So what happens in the case of normal incidence? Cos r will take a value of 1. Okay, and we know that all this process is happening in air, so mu for air will be 1. Okay, so if mu is 1 and cos r is 1, we get the condition as 2 mu will be 1, so no need to write mu. The condition will be 2 t cos r will also be 1 minus lambda by 2. Okay, this will be the condition of path difference between both the rays. Okay, so now what happens in the case of maxima? We see what happens in the case of maxima. So we know that the condition for maxima is always, in the case of interference, delta is equal to m lambda. Okay, so we put here delta is equal to m lambda in the above condition, and what we get is, see, the value of delta is 2t minus lambda by 2, and we put here m lambda for delta. So the condition becomes 2t is equal to m lambda plus lambda by 2. If we take common lambda by 2, we get twice m plus 1 and lambda by 2. So the condition of darkness becomes the condition of brightness here. Okay, what we encounter in normal conditions, this is the condition of darkness, which is changed to brightness. Okay, now Next, next is the condition of minima. So what happens for minima? We know that the normal condition for minima is delta is equal to twice m plus 1 lambda by 2. Okay, so we'll put it here in the value of, so what is the value of delta is 2t minus lambda by 2 is equal to twice m plus 1 lambda by 2. We solve this and we get 2t is equal to twice m plus 1 lambda by 2 plus lambda by 2. On solving this further, we get 2t is equal to m lambda. So this is the condition for brightness in normal cases, but here due to the change of pi radians we get it as a condition of darkness. Okay, so what we can say, the normal condition for darkness becomes the condition for brightness and vice versa. Okay, so our next thing is here, why the fringes here in Newton's ring are circular. Okay, our next topic of interest is why we get a circular fringe in Newton's ring. Okay, so let us have a look at the figure again, what we were discussing earlier. See, there is a convex lens and a plain glass plate. Okay, so if we consider the point of contact here, where there is a thickness is equal to 0, thickness of air film is 0. So as we move further from the point t is equal to 0, if we say that at some thickness t1 there is a condition of darkness, a condition of darkness at some point t1. Okay, sole factor on which the term darkness or brightness depends is what? Thickness, because this is only a variable factor in the whole experiment. Okay, so now here for a particular thickness t1, if we say that here is a fringe of darkness, so what happens for all t1s? Okay, for all t1s, like on all the sides. Okay, we are viewing this in just two sides. Okay, this positive and negative, but this will be happening for all the sides around the angle 360 degrees, or we can say around the circle. Okay, so this convex lens is itself a circle and it will follow the locus of a circle. So what will be happening throughout the circle, we'll be getting a dark fringe at the thickness t1. Okay, next dark fringe, if we say that it is at a point t2 where the thickness is t2, then the next dark fringe will occur at the thickness t2 throughout the circular locus. So we can say the fringes are circular because of the point of contact is fixed, and the locus from the point of contact is the locus of a circle. Okay, so that's why we are getting circular fringes like this. Okay, see, the central, this is the central fringe. Okay, next will be a bit farther away. Okay, again after that, the pattern we'll be noticing here, that the circles produced in this Newton's ring experiment will be getting thinner and thinner as we move away from the center. Okay, so this is the property of circular fringes. Now we have to calculate the, what if we have to calculate the radii of dark fringes. Okay, now we'll calculate the radii of dark fringes of so what happens now, let us consider See, let us consider a plain glass plate here. Okay, now we'll draw a convex lens here. Okay, so now this is the, if we suppose that from till here, from this point O, let this point be O, until here this point M, this is the radius of curvature. It is denoted by capital R. So at some point of thickness T, there is a dark fringe. Okay, at a point Q. So we'll suppose this radius at as Rm, small rm, and from here to here this will also denote the radius of curvature for that particular thickness. Okay, and this distance here, let us name this as N, and this distance is also known as T. Here this point is known as P. Okay, so what we are seeing here is R is the radius of curvature denoted by R. This distance is also denoted by R because this is also radius, this is also radius. Okay, for the particular thickness T. Okay, now what happens, we'll put for to find the value of Rm, we'll use the Pythagoras theorem in the above triangle. Okay, so let us put the Pythagoras theorem here. Where we'll apply the Pythagoras theorem? See, this is the hypotenuse, this is the perpendicular, and this is the base. Okay, so we want to find the value of small rm. So let us use the Pythagoras theorem. What happens is capital R square is equal to Rm square plus R minus T whole square. On solving this, we get R square is equal to Rm square plus, opening the bracket, we'll get R square plus T square minus 2RT. Okay, this is what we get here. Again, what happens next, we'll cancel R square from both the sides, and the remaining part we'll get Rm is equal to Rm square is equal to 2RT minus T square. Okay, so what happens next, we suppose that we can say that R is very greater than the thickness T. Okay, and 2RT is very greater than T square because the thickness will be very small. Okay, here you are seeing that this figure as so much large, but the original values of this thickness and all will be very small. Okay, so we can consider it. So the condition of darkness here, we know that the condition of darkness at Q will be darkness at Q. So wherever we will need to find the, we put T, 2T is equal to M lambda. This is the condition of darkness. Okay, so from here we know, from above we can say that this equation, see, here 2RT is very greater than T square. Okay, so we can just write it as Rm square is equal to 2RT, 2 capital R small t. Okay, so what we can put here in the place of 2 and t is Rm square is equal to m r and lambda. Okay, we can put this, or we can write Rm is equal to under root of m r lambda. So what we see from here, that the radius is dependent upon the value of order of the fringe and the wavelength lambda and the radius of curvature. Okay, the radius of curvature for a particular thickness will be a constant, so the sole thickness depends upon the order of the fringe. Okay, so as we increase the order of the fringe, what happens to the radius? Radius goes on decreasing. Okay, so how we can write that? We can put the different values of m. So for r1 if we calculate, we get just lambda r. Next for r2 we get 2 lambda r. Okay, and for r3 we get under root 3 lambda r. Okay, so here the value is 1 times lambda r under root of lambda r. Okay, this value is under root 2 times, this value is under root 3 times. So what we can say, that the radii of the dark fringes or dark rings are proportional to the under root of natural numbers. Okay, so what we can say is Rm is directly proportional to under root of lambda. So we can also say that the radius of the mth dark ring is proportional to the under root of wavelength. Okay, from this equation we can say that. Now if we want to calculate the ring diameter, it is very easy. We will just multiply 2 and we will calculate the ring diameter. Okay, so this is all for today. Now in the next class or next lecture, we will discuss the spacing between these Newton's ring fringes.